An Operation Safe Road special report revealing a safety concern on one of our busiest freeways, Interstate 10. It's something that's resulted in dozens of deaths, more than 150 crashes, and tens of millions of dollars in jury verdicts.
But victims tell ABC 15 investigator Dave Biskobing one fix could eliminate almost all of it. So why isn't it being done?
It was mid-morning just south of the valley.
Deadly accident on I-10.
An SUV swerves to miss something on Interstate 10, loses control, rolls through the median, head-on into traffic.
2 people in the SUV were killed.
They were Pam Humphrey and Ann Quinn, Mike Humphrey's wife and sister.
What happened to her car is like exploded. This is what happens when 2 cars hit each other at 75 miles an hour.
That was May 14th, 2008, and for the past decade, Mike's been locked in a lawsuit with the Arizona Department of Transportation.
It's like a perfect storm of danger. They got to have the cable. If that cable had been in there, she would have hit the cable would have stopped the car.
And this is exactly what he's fighting for. Cable median barriers, high tension wires to prevent crossover crashes.
They're effective at stopping vehicles at high speeds. In fact, here's some video of them in action. But on I-10, from Phoenix to Tucson, they're almost nowhere to be found.
We would actually be doing a disservice by putting up barriers because we'd be causing more harm than good.
Stephen Boshin is a top engineer with ADOT.
A barrier is actually a hazard, and there would be more crashes.
What he means is most drivers would hit the cables unnecessarily because at about 80 feet, ADOT claims I-10 medians are, quote, very wide, and most cars should be able to stop. But with cars driving 75 plus, not all do.
Have you guys studied to see if there are any clusters or areas where this happens more than others?
We have not identified any clusters. These are extremely rare, unpredictable events.
But ADOT's only tracked crossovers since 2015. To fill in the gap, Mike and his attorneys provided ABC 15 with I-10 crossover crashes going back 17 years. They believe there are clusters. Since 2001, within the 20-mile stretch where Mike's family died, there were 64 crossover crashes, injuring 74, killing 20. And in a 20-mile stretch near Picacho Peak, there were 81 crashes, 79 injuries, and 26 deaths. So is that extremely rare, or is it a real problem that needs solving? That's the debate, and lawsuits and lost lives don't make it any simpler.
But not being able to be with your loved one at the end is just devastating. Even now. Because it's just burned into my mind what happened. I saw pictures of the car, and it didn't have to happen.
If not for his son, Mike says he may not have made it. His brother-in-law didn't.
And he just couldn't live without her. And so in 2012, he actually took his life.
If that wasn't hard enough, Mike says the trial was almost worse.
I think they tried to portray me as just, money grubber in their closing. They talked about suffering is optional.
It must not have sat well with the jury. They believed ADOT should have had cables up given I-10's crash history, and they issued a massive verdict, $40 million. That's on top of another $8 million verdict for another crossover crash within the same year and same mile on I-10. Nearly $50 million for just 2 crashes. To cable the entire stretch of I-10 from Phoenix to Tucson, it would cost about $12 million.
Heck, at one point I offered to settle the whole thing for a mile of cable. Just put in a mile of cable.
Why don't we do it? There's lives being lost, there's huge amounts of money being paid out. Why should the public feel comfortable knowing that there aren't median barriers out there?
I would offer that we don't want to practice shotgun engineering, and what I mean by that is if there's a crash, we don't want to immediately go out there and say there's a problem, because we need to do a safety analysis out there.
Whatever side you're on, the divide's been costly, and there appears to be very little middle ground.
This is just going to keep playing out crash after crash after crash forever until they do something.
For Operation Safe Roads, Dave Biskobing, ABC 15, Arizona.